If you've been thinking about opening your own private practice, but you're not sure where to start, you're not alone. There isn't just one way to launch, and choosing the wrong path can create unnecessary stress, higher costs, and burnout. In today's video, I'm breaking down 4 different ways you can start a private practice, from opening fully independently to simply renting space from an existing practice. By the end, you'll know exactly what option fits your goals, your budget, and your lifestyle. So let's start with the solo private practice model. This is where you own 100% of your business. You make all the decisions and you carry all the risk. The biggest upside here is the control. You have full autonomy over how your practice runs, how you care for patients, and how your brand is built. Long term, this model has the highest earning potential because you're not sharing revenue with partners or a larger organization. But there's really trade-offs. This option usually comes with high startup costs, and you're responsible for everything: hiring, managing, billing, compliance, operations, and making sure the business actually works behind the scenes. This model requires strong planning, solid systems, and the willingness to think like a business owner, not just a clinician. This is where I strongly recommend hiring a consultant to help you. Again, this path works best for providers who want complete independence, and they're comfortable wearing 2 hats, both treating patients and running a business like a CEO. The second option is joining an existing group practice. This usually means coming in as an employee or an associate with potential partnership track down the road. But it could also be buying out another partner who's retiring. One of the biggest advantages of this model is that there's a lower financial risk. You're not responsible for startup costs, and you typically walk into an established patient base with shared administrative support, billing, and overhead already in place. It's also a great way to learn how a private practice operates before taking full ownership by yourself. That said, there are some trade-offs. You'll have less autonomy when it comes to scheduling, clinical workflow, and business decisions. The leadership style or the culture may not fully align with how you want to practice medicine, and compensation can be lower, especially if the partnership opportunity never materializes. This model works best for providers who want to ease into private practice, gain experience, and reduce risk before deciding whether full ownership is right for them. The third option is sharing overhead with another partner. In this model, you and another physician share expenses like rent, staff, utilities, and equipment, but you're not necessarily sharing ownership or revenue. One of the biggest benefits here is cost savings. Sharing overhead can significantly reduce your startup costs, while still allowing each provider to run their own independent business. You maintain control over your own practice, your patients, and your income, while lowering your financial risk compared to going completely solo. However, this model only works if the partnership is the right fit. You need a reliable partner with similar work ethic and aligned expectations. Clear boundaries and written agreements are essential in this situation, especially around schedules, shared staff, and expenses. If visions or availability aren't aligned, things can get complicated quickly. Another thing to think about: if one of you is a harder worker and the other one isn't, one of you starts having more success than the other, they're going to start getting jealous. What does that look like? Will they cause problems? Will it affect your business? So again, back to having a contract, have a clear exit strategy in this situation. This option works best for providers who want to remain independent, but who are looking for a more cost-effective way to launch by sharing space and resources. The fourth option is renting space in an existing practice. In this model, you sublease 1 or more rooms from another provider and operate as your own independent business. This is the lowest cost way to get into private practice. Overhead is minimal, startup timelines are short, and you can get up and running quickly. It's also a great way to get into the market, build your patient volume, validate a demand before committing to a full office or a long-term lease. But there are trade-offs to consider. You'll have limited control over the space, your branding, and sometimes even patient flow. This setup isn't always designed to be permanent, and there's risks if the host decides to expand, restructure, or stop subleasing altogether. This model works best for providers who want a soft launch, need flexibility, or want to grow their patient base before taking on cost and commitment of a standalone practice. Now that you've seen the difference between the different ways to start a private practice, the real question is which one's best for you. Because the best model isn't always what looks the most impressive. It's about what aligns with your goals, your finances, and the season of life that you're in. Start with your budget. How much can you realistically invest upfront without creating financial stress? Some models require more significant capital, while others let you start leaner, grow over time. Next, think about your tolerance for risk. Are you comfortable with uncertainty and responsibility, or do you prefer a more predictable setup while you learn the business side? Then consider autonomy. How important is full control over your decisions, your scheduling, and how you practice medicine? Some models offer freedom while others trade control for support. Your timeline matters too. Do you want to open quickly, or are you intentionally building something step by step? Finally, think about growth. Are you aiming for small, lifestyle practice, or do you want something scalable that you can grow into multiple providers or a location? When you're clear on these 5 factors, the right startup model usually becomes pretty obvious. Starting a private practice is not a one-size-fits-all, and choosing the right model can save you a lot of time, money, and stress. If you want help figuring out what startup path fits you best and what the process actually looks like for you, you're welcome to book a free call with me through the link in the description below. We'll walk through your options and map out a plan that works for you. See you in the next video.